These aren't the droids we're looking for.
All right, as promised, I'm going to give you a quick tour through some of my Star Wars memorabilia. I've got a lot of Star Wars stuff. Should probably post a warning on this video, nerds only. But I'm going to try to limit it to just stuff that was around the time of the release of the movie. As mentioned earlier, they didn't have a lot of promotional budget, a lot of money. They were kind of caught flat-footed with merchandising tie-ins. Lucasfilm, which George Lucas owned all the rights to the merchandising and the sequels, and what is probably the best movie deal in history made by a director. He took a cut in his writing and directing fee to retain the merchandising rights and the sequel rights. And Fox thought they were getting over on him with that. And that was like one of the worst business deals ever for a studio. But, they were scrambling around trying to get merchandising tie-ins and licenses set up. They didn't have any toys ready to go. In fact, famously, it wouldn't be until like the next Christmas of '78 before Kenner would have any Star Wars toys on the market. They had to release a little promise box that had cardboard cutouts of these are the great figures we're going to get next year, kids.
Star Wars figures. R2-D2. Chewbacca, Luke, and Princess Leia. They're the Star Wars Early Bird set of figures. These action figures are not yet available, but this Star Wars Early Bird certificate package is in stores with this colorful Star Wars picture display stand and certificate to send in to get a set of figures by mail. They'll be sent to you at home between February 1st and June 1st. The Star Wars Early Bird certificate package, new from Kenner.
And but they did have some merchandising out at the time of the movie. And but anyway, as I mentioned earlier, I'm wearing one of them now, my mom's t-shirts, and these are some of the others. This is one of mine, obviously, as a little kid here. And let's see if we can glean the date here, and maybe that'll tell us when this shirt came out. '77. I was thinking it was around the time of the movie. This was one I had and wore. I remember it vividly. Loved the little cartoon, drawings of Obi-Wan and Vader there against the Star Wars logo. This one, I really love this one a lot. This is just a cool image of 3PO and R2 with the Star Wars logo and one of those great vinyl-y plastic decals that were on t-shirts a lot, and still in pretty good shape. This is another one of my mom's with the this sky blue with the actual poster art, the great poster art from the Hildebrandt brothers. So that there were the Star Wars t-shirts. Hello, Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown here is just hanging out. And over here, you saw this on the table earlier. I believe this was, I got this for Christmas of '77. And I think maybe my grandfather gave this to me. I'm not 100% sure. But Star Wars watch. Kid size. And it's still in pretty good shape. I haven't actually taken it out of this to look at because I just want to kind of leave it in the, leave it in the case. But I wore it a lot. But anyway, that's a neat little thing. And this is really cool. This is something that also came out that year. The Star Wars portfolio by Ralph McQuarrie, which was all the great, gorgeous production concept illustrations that Ralph McQuarrie did for Star Wars to help sell the film and to visualize some of the concepts that Lucas had. And this is one that we had in a frame and hanging up at the old house, but it didn't make it up on the walls in this house. But I just don't have enough room for all my stuff. I need a house about 3 times as big. But that gives you an idea of what they look like. They're beautifully printed up, and they're just great dynamic images. This is from an early concept when they had it says here that Luke is fighting Darth Vader in what was to have been a scuffle aboard the Rebel blockade runner soon after Vader's Imperials captured the Rebel ship. Luke is wearing an oxygen mask because they blew out the airlock and there's no air, but they were going to have a lightsaber battle. But it's just a cool, image. And there's, you can look at these online and find these Ralph McQuarrie paintings, but it was like, there's like a little portfolio thing there, and then there were a ton of them. And this is a cool one with the early conception of the Stormtrooper, with this one having a lightsaber there, but you can kind of get definitely the look of the Stormtroopers. It's got a bit more of a 2001 vibe on the interior of the Death Star there than it ended up being, but still, there's like the Death Star, the Millennium Falcon and the Death Star landing bay, and these are just like, this is a great one. This is one of my favorites, and so this is a good one to end on. But the Death Star battle, and this really gives you a good visualization of what Lucas was talking about for the dogfights, which was a completely different style of effect, and so they had to create a whole new type of special effects, motion control technology, and because what he was visualizing was just something that literally had never been done before, and but that's a great concept of it, and but that was one that came out that year, and it was just cool because, of course, in the days before the internet and before even VCRs, most people did not have VCRs. We didn't get our first VCR until '83, and there was no home video, and so it was just the only way to relive the movie, aside from going to see it a whole bunch of times, which we did, was like looking at stuff like this. And now the fact that there was little merchandising left the door wide open for a lot of, maybe semi-scrupulous manufacturers to do knockoff toys. And this one was a really, really cool one. And I remember my dad came home one day from work with these. One for me and one for my sister. It's, as you can see here, it says, "The light beam." And it says, "The force is with you," in a blatant copyright violation. And uses two D-sized batteries. And literally, it's just a flashlight. It's just a red plastic flashlight with a normal flashlight switch. So they literally just got a whole bunch of flashlights from the hardware store. It had a plastic tube because you had like a normal flashlight lens that went over this, and then a tube was stuck into the end here. It went out about that far, and had a little cap on the end, and it was just pale white in color. And so you turned it on, and the tube lit up, and of course, then me and my sister went running around, waving the lightsabers like crazy. The tubes fell off all the time. You'd have to put the tubes back on, I don't know how long it lasted. These lasted as playable items, but I was actually surprised to find this going through my stuff. I didn't think I had any of these left because I was looking for images of them, and I did find images of the whole light beam that you'll see maybe even right now. I don't know when we'll stick them in there, but I was very happily surprised to see that this one had survived the decades and was in one of my boxes of stuff. And but yeah, it was, my dad would do that all the time. He would all the time come when he came home, would have something. He'd stop off at a store and grab something for me and my sister. And this time he brought home these awesome lightsabers. And over here,
Do you like the shirt, Gonzo? You shouldn't really do that, Gonzo. It's very cute though. You want to wear it? Do you want to wear the shirt? Do you want to be a nerd too?
Gonzo says, "I'm not a nerd, I'm a badass. I whoop on the mouses. I'm a cool cat. I'm a cool dude." So now I'm going to take a look at some of the magazines. I won't dive into too great a depth on these. This one was cool. I found this one. I'd forgotten all about this one, but I found this in my old scrapbook. And it was a People magazine. And I guess it's Modern People. So I don't know if this eventually became People magazine as it was known later on, or if it was something different, or it was like a rip-off of People magazine. But anyway, it had an exclusive 8-page Star Wars section that with a blurry picture of the escape pod and R2 and 3PO, who were all the rage. And it's also got some other great stories in there, like Hollywood's sexy male casting couch, the 70s. And like this one, lab mishap unleashes deadly green monkey virus, plague averted, for a few decades anyway. And but this was just kind of stuff we would just see would be on the newsstand at the grocery store with all the tabloids, and we'd be like, and grab it, and because just anything Star Wars was like, we were all about. And in the People potpourri over here, for some reason, it's got a poop scoop. I don't really want to read that tiny text right now, but it's worth noting that it is a poop scoop story. Box office blockbuster. At the rate moviegoers are jamming theaters, Star Wars will make history. Star Trek was big, but Star Wars may be bigger. And they got a chagrined-looking Mr. Spock there who's not happy about that news. Even though they were supporting characters, the lovable robots captured the public's fancy, becoming everyone's favorites. Special effects dazzle filmgoers, should win an Oscar. And that prediction was accurate. And this was actually a special edition of Famous Monsters magazine, the Star Wars Spectacular, and it just had a lot of mostly black and white images, but it was still like, totally cool. And and he's got 4, he always had to get in other monsters there at the end, he had to bring in like this Island Earth, the Mutant, and the Morlocks. Screen Superstar Special Expanded Edition, Star Wars The Full Story, with, I'm thinking, some original art there from them. And this is cool. I forgot about this. This kind of slightly weird, abstract painting with Vader, with a kind of abstracted, stylized Vader, and 3PO with glowing eyes. Of course, 3PO's eyes did glow, but typically you didn't see it very much unless it was dark. And this one, for some reason, I didn't seal the outside, but the inside got sealed. I remember this was cool. It had a diagram, technical readout of 3PO and R2, which was pretty cool. And so these were cool. These were the official poster monthly, issue 3 here. And what you did, it was like a magazine format. Oh, Return of the Jedi is on the back. At last the wait is over. Han Solo, Rogue Spacer. John Steers, Master of Illusion, exclusive. Robotics, from R2s to Quasars. What do Quasars have to do with robotics? But giant Star Wars poster inside. But these were done for many years for all kinds of different movies. I've got some for Dune actually over there. That may have been about the latest I remember them being done. But they're always in the same exact format. And I don't want to take it out of the plastic because it'd be a pain in the butt. But you just unfolded it, and there would be, magazine layout stories in there that you'd read, and you'd unfold it, and there'd be more, until finally you unfolded it out to about this big, and it was a poster you could hang up on your wall. Hey, we took a little shooting break, and in the interim, check it out. I put on the Star Wars watch, and it fits. Check it out. Pretty cool, huh? It doesn't work because it doesn't have the little screw thing on it anymore that you can wind it up with to see if the actual mechanism still works, but it might be repairable. But it actually, fits on my wrist. I probably wouldn't wear it. But it's cool that I can put it on now. And anyway, but so we got because rolling through these magazines, this one was a great one, the Star Wars album. It's the official collector's edition. This does remind me, and I'll find some pictures of it online and to show in the video. I've got an original program. We had 2 of them. We got 2 of the original programs when we bought our tickets. They were about this shape, and they had the binding on this side, so they open up wide, and they were really gorgeous, and they had great layout, and they had really cool pictures, and they were the official programs of the movie. And we had 2 of them, and I've got one somewhere. My mom gave it to me years ago, and I can't find it. I know because I remember when I got it, either she gave it to me in a plastic bag or I put it in a plastic bag, but I know it's in a plastic bag, and it's somewhere, but I can't find it. What? So I wished I had that to show. I looked up and down for it. It's somewhere, hidden away. But this is cool. This was the official collector's edition. This is something from a convention, I'm sure. This is the kind of stuff, homemade, kind of homegrown merchandise that you would see in the dealers' rooms at conventions. It says, "Walk softly and carry a lightsaber," and a bumper sticker that never made it on a car. And the New Times, "Why America Loves the Star Wars Heroes." And this, I'll check this out. All the cool kids had this come September and back to school. Well, we went back to school in August. And see, it was from Gibson's. 30 cents each. I had a Monster Mania magazine in there. And it was a Star Wars portfolio to carry your papers in. And I had, this is not Star Wars, but it's cool. It's like space stuff. But inside, Space Wars. This one's from later because it's talking about Star Wars 2, which nobody knew what it was going to be called, so they just called it Star Wars 2. But Spock. But that also here were another couple of these guys with Obi-Wan, Stormtroopers. You open it up, had Star Destroyer. Oh, and I drew This is so you can see this is later on. I drew the Close Encounters alien, and I drew the Star Destroyer blowing up the Rebel blockade runner. And then you got, in the other one here, you got Stormtroopers and Vader. And you open it up, and what does it have inside? It does not want to reveal its secrets. The awesome. This was always got a huge laugh. This scene when Obi-Wan first uses his Jedi mind trick on the Stormtroopers. You don't need to see his identification. Oh my God! Everybody just roared. They thought that was the funniest damn thing they'd ever seen. Because of course everybody what the thing is like you get pulled over by a cop, and of course everybody loved to do that. But that hence the humor, hence the comedy. And then you also had the Star Wars comic adaptation by Marvel. I wasn't a big comic book guy, but I got few of them over the years, but I was never a big comic book kid. And then there's some, so this is like the edition where because they came out in the small type comics in like I think 6 issues telling the adapted story. And then they put out 2 big special editions that compiled the whole story into 2 big printed editions. And then this is cool. I wanted to show this. Well, I stuck these Mad Magazine cards at the top because I had this, like somebody gave me a card collecting thing, and I don't know where the rest of it is, but all the Survivor, these 2 pages. But for some reason I put Alien up here, Mad Magazine here, and then started the Star Wars down here. But before they actually had the official bubblegum series that you could get, like Topps bubblegum cards in the like little packages in the convenience stores and stuff, they had the different blue series, red series, yellow series, green series, and I got a bunch of those. But before that, in 1977, what did your research tell you, Margaret? When was it? September? Huh? Fall. In Wonder Bread, you buy a loaf of Wonder Bread, and you'd get 1 Star Wars card in it. And so, boy, I was eating a lot of bread, and you can see how many loaves of bread we bought. There's more actually in a bag in there, so I don't remember exactly how many they got. And I think this is the whole set.
There's 16, I think.
So this is 14, 7, 5, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11. So yeah, I'm missing 1 or 2. But 3, 6, 9. I've got 12 here, and then there's more in the back box there. But anyway, the point is that you never knew which card you were going to get when you got your Wonder Bread. So I realized that I could stand there in the grocery store in the bread aisle and lift the plastic and move the card with my fingers through the plastic and get it into a position where there was a gap in the printing on the package, and I could maybe sometimes see, this is Luke Skywalker that I've already got 3 times. So I think the rare ones were the ships, if I remember right. Those are the ones that were hard to find. But so I gamed that out and figured out a way I could, see which ones that I needed to get, so we didn't get, waste a bread purchase. Okay, and one more little batch here. First, I'm going to show you the Star Wars record album, which was really cool. I love this white on black logo. Although I did see a guy in this neighborhood like about 10 years ago walking down the street, and he's got a Star Wars shirt on, and it's all black, and it's got the white Star Wars logo on. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get one of those, but then I never looked up to get one of those. But I still would like one of those, so anybody wants to give me one of those, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I always liked it. It's like, not like the actual Star Wars logo, which of course we know is in yellow, but it looks cool. And it's like very simple and direct on the front cover there, Star Wars. And then the back's got this cool, kind of looks like maybe it's pencil or charcoal or something. But, Vader with the stars all around him is pretty cool. And you would open it up, and for those of you not familiar with record albums, sometimes you would have a double record, and it would open up, and it would have what they called a gatefold. Now this one's kind of beat up and falling apart, but it had this cool selection of red bordered stills from the movie, which was really cool. And so, we'd put on the record and listen to this soundtrack and just look at the pictures, look at the pictures, look at the pictures. And the albums themselves, there are four of them, or two of them, so four sides with the 20th Century Fox Records logo on it. And they're still in pretty good shape. And we listened to them not too long ago when we watched the Star Wars movies. And it still sounds pretty dang good. A little scratchy, but you know, it's a 45-year-old record. Now this is going to be the last one of the, well, not the last, I got one more, but the last of this set. You might be asking yourself, what in the hell are these things here? Well, as I mentioned, they had no Star Wars toys for Christmas of '77, so a lot of people jumped into that opening in the market, and nature abhors a vacuum, and that is very true of Star Wars toys. When you got millions upon millions of kids screaming for Star Wars toys. Well, this is from actually Ideal, I believe, did these. And they were a fairly legit company and did a lot of toys. They had, this was when the era of 12-inch figures was much more common, like think your Adventure Team G.I. Joes. Star Wars actually pioneered the 3 3/4 inch figures, and they made that as a practical decision because they wanted to have spaceships that the figures could fit in. And so they realized if they made them this big, the spaceships would be just too dang big. But Ideal didn't know that, so they made these knockoff guys, Zim 21 and Zeroid. Now he's long past the time when he can stand on his own. As you can see, his legs are backwards, so let's see if we can get his legs going the right way. There they go, okay. Even at this time, it was hard to tell his front from his back in his groinal area. And he, you know, is having some trouble these days, but you could with great difficulty when he was new and his rubber bands were firmer, you could actually get him to stand up very, very haphazardly and rickety, and he was very prone to falling over, but you could get him to stand up. But today, no way. But he's obviously your C-3PO clone. And he's got a green head, but he's a cool design. I really dig the design on these guys. They're not, you know, chintzy toys. They're actually pretty cool toys. And he's got this cool green head with this kind of 30s robotic kind of thing. Of course, 3PO had an Art Deco, was inspired by Metropolis, the female robot in Metropolis. And has an Art Deco look to it. And he's got this kind of silver body that's cool. And this is Zim 21. And his little faithful robot companion, Zeroid, of which I actually have two, because we also had and these guys were called the Star Team. S-T-A-R, Star Team. And they also had a spaceship that looked kind of like, was kind of based kind of a UFO shape with this plastic tower. And it had just room for a separate Zim 20 or Zeroid who was blue. This guy's red. You see, he's red, and he used to light up. I couldn't figure out how to get in there to see if maybe he worked by opening it up and putting the batteries in. Maybe this one doesn't. Maybe only the blue one lit up. But the blue one I think was shorter or taller. They were different heights, but the blue one sat in the flying saucer, and you like pulled this switch on it, and it went. It took like 5 minutes to open, and then the ramp would come down and he'd come falling out. And this was just thrilling, you know, in 1977. It's like you would just do this thing and you just watch it for 10 minutes while it goes, you know. I've got the thing somewhere. And it's a mechanical mechanism, it's not electronic, so it actually still works, at least the last time I looked at it. But it's buried deep in my storage room, so I didn't bother getting out. Maybe a future video, I'll do a video exclusively devoted to the Star Team, and I'll drag out the flying saucer. But their nemesis, they always got to have a nemesis, and here he is, the Dark Knight. Clearly not inspired by any villain in a recent science fiction film. But this is the Dark Knight. He you know, has a blaster instead of a ray gun, instead of a laser sword, but he's still pretty cool, and kind of a, you know, sort of a Darth Vader-y look. I think this might have been a repurposed guy from something else. They did that a lot back then. They would have different toy lines that they would repurpose the bodies and the heads, and then just paint them differently or give them different outfits, and they'd become, you know, you know, something that went with an Evel Knievel set would suddenly become a Gorn for, you know, Star Trek. But not Evel Knievel. Where did that Gorn come from? I can't remember. He went with something. but they just remolded it and onto a different thing. But they did a lot of that, repurposing these molds. But this is the Dark Knight, and he can still stand. He still got it together. He can still stand. But these were great, and even though I didn't have Star Wars, I was thrilled to have these guys, because boy, these guys were good enough, man. If you couldn't get Star Wars, at least you could have the Star Team. Wow, Sally. Does Sally have something to contribute? Sally.
I see you, Sally.
Oh, there you are. I see that. That's a lovely mouse. It's not a real mouse. It's not a real mouse. It's a toy mouse. Hey, look, just a little addendum here. I'll shove this in when we're talking about the Star Team. But going through the stuff, I found this, which I'm sure, because that's the Star Team logo right there. And so this came with, I bet it came with the Star Team stuff. Gem 21 and 08 Lunar Pro. But yeah, that's definitely the Star Team logo that I remember. So I remember this thing, but I don't remember it being associated with the Star Team. But it's a neat little thing. I think it's supposed to be a patch that you attach to clothing somehow, but I don't see how you would do that because it's plastic. Maybe you'd sew it. I don't know. Here are the 4 Burger King Star Wars posters, as mentioned, highlighting Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO. We'll bypass Mitchell here for the moment, and King Kong, and move to Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Yeah, these are quite lovely paintings, I've always felt. Neat, unique designs that were original with the Burger King glasses. Sometimes I hang the Star Wars poster up there where Mitchell is. Now here are the 2 Star Wars glasses that we have. This was an original that we got when I was a kid at actual Burger King. We had several of the glasses. It's the only one that I survived. Such as it is, it does have one. Last time we got it out, and I was going to, drink out of it. One time when we were watching Star Wars, discovered that it had hairline cracks running through it, so now we just have it stowed away. But this one is in actual great shape. We got this one from Salvation Army, along with a couple of Return of the Jedi glasses. Yo, check it. I forgot I had this thing when I was shooting the other stuff earlier. My Star Wars Darth Vader costume. Purchased from Kmart. $3.97. And I don't remember for sure if this was from Halloween of 77 or 78. I looked up when these costumes became available. This was a Ben Cooper costume and mask. And for anybody who was familiar with these masks at the time knew just exactly what they were. They always came in these little boxes like this with the little windows so you could see the the cheap plastic mask that had the little eye holes and the little tongue hole that you always cut your tongue on. And they were available, these and the much more expensive and high quality Don Post masks that they had for hey you guys, we're gonna have to separate you. Charlie Brown, stop lurking Ludo. Charlie Brown is lurking Ludo. Before we were so rudely interrupted by kitty cats. Ben Cooper mask, people of the era remember these. I was talking about the Don Post masks that were available at the same time, and my research shows that yes, indeed, in fact, however you want to slice it, they did have these out for Halloween of 77. They were woefully underproduced, though, because they did not expect the demand. So Ben Cooper had masks in stores for Halloween 77. Don Post had the much more elaborate and more expensive mask, and Don Post had Vader, Chewbacca, Stormtrooper, and 3PO, and they had Luke Skywalker, 3PO, Vader, and I don't remember, I think a fourth one, but I don't remember. Oh, look, check it out. Oh, man. It's Lord Darth Vader. Cape with hood. Authentic mask. One size, 6 to 12. Lord Darth Vader. That's pretty cool. You got the Lord Darth Vader in there. But, so honestly, I don't remember if we got these for 77. they were sold out everywhere. My research told me that the stores were just selling these suckers out, and they just didn't have enough stock. We might have gotten it for that. The copyright box on it does, the copyright on the box does say 77, but I don't remember for sure if we got 77 or 78. But I'm thinking we probably did get 77. But actually, both me and my sister had the same costume. We both were Darth Vader that year. And as you can see, the back of the box, the bottom, is long since gone. Now I'll put this over here out of the way, leaving just the contents and the Darth Vader mask. As you can see, that actually still kind of fits in my head. And he had the little nose hole, the little mouth hole that your kids would always stick their tongue through. Little kids would stick their tongue through and would cut their tongues. But that was something that was a universal thing. He's long since lost his rubber band that held the mask in place. But you know, that's pretty cool Darth Vader mask. And it has the, let's see what condition the hood and cape is in. Oh man, what? Oh, that's the rubber bands. Oh my god. Well, yeah, check it out. It's like the actual rubber bands. They sat in there so long that the rubber bands actually rotted and fell off. That's so cool. Now I don't know if I want to actually move these and unfold the cape, but I guess I better, huh? I guess I better. I'll put these here so they can be put back in situ there. That's just too cool, man. That's just really cool. So let's see how this kind of unfold this carefully and see. But yeah, you would see the little kid would wear I want to have Star Wars. That's the thing, these Ben Cooper costumes, they always had like the logo of the property somewhere. Usually it was like you'd have a mask that vaguely looked like the character, and you'd have a smock that had a picture of the character on it. So they were very bizarre, but this one at least kind of, sort of, approximates a Darth Vader, especially if you wore like I did. I think I remember I wore black jeans and a black sweatshirt with mine. So it kind of sort of approximates a Darth Vader-y kind of look, but it's got the Star Wars logo there. Very cool. And it still looks all shiny and new. But that's that. And so you've seen, you got some good shots of all this stuff, the box and everything, right? But yeah, that was our, me and my sister had the same Halloween costume that year. And I'm pretty sure now, seeing the 77 on the box, that we did in fact get it for that year. And we're one of the few lucky kids to get. I'm sure my mom probably was to thank for that. She was probably there at the store, first in line to get them, would be my guess. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, just one last little Star Warsy thing that I remembered I had. Hugo, honey, wake up. Santa Claus came.
What the hell are you doing, you weirdo? Why am I in all this Star Wars crap?
Well, I can always rely on Hugo to be an asshole. So, Hugo, back in your spot. And this is the last piece of Star Wars merchandising. I honestly don't know when we got these, if these were in 77 or if they were later. It does say copyright 1977, 20th Century Fox Film Group, so probably. And boy, it's like in super great shape. I was really surprised when I got it out how bright the colors are. I do remember sleeping on this a lot. As you can see, the blanket, which is actually a different pattern, isn't it? Or is it? It's a different pattern. But I think they did come together. But anyway, the blanket is much more worn, as you can see. But the sheets are like in great shape. But I do remember sleeping in them, and but they're still like in really good shape. The I think some of them are repeated. Yeah, it's just they're repeated, but they're in like a different pattern with like a slightly different color scheme. Because see, you got Vader and Leia, and you got Vader and Leia. So they definitely did come together. But yeah, the pillows case is really impressive. How sharp and vivid the colors are on that. It's and the same on both sides of the pillow. Well, that wraps it up. Thanks for joining me on this little trip down memory lane, looking at some Star Wars junk. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll catch you next time on Geeking Out with Galaxy Infinitum. Bye-bye.